Hi there, my name is Mora Onyonka, and I'm a corporate development manager within Silicon Valley Bank, and I sit on the Access to Innovation team. And I'm located here in the heart of Bed-Stuy, my favorite of all favoritist of neighborhoods within Brooklyn. So welcome. I just want to say that on behalf of Silicon Valley Bank, we are so proud to sponsor Startup Grind and the SG's Women's Summit this year to join in celebrating and empowering women entrepreneurs and investors. Through our initiative, Access to Innovation, we are always working to advance women, Black, and Latinx individuals to positions of power and influence within the innovation economy. And we're able to do this through many different ways, like increasing the pipeline of diverse, talent to our clients with powerful partnerships, connecting diverse groups to SVB's vast network within the innovation economy. And three, unlock greater access to capital, professional relationships, and career opportunities that underrepresented minority groups may not have historically had. We are always aiming to be that source and that catalyst for good within this sector. And we understand that it is because of diverse perspectives, inclusive environments that really aim to ignite beautiful, big, bold, audacious ideas. And so we invite you to learn more about Silicon Valley Bank and about our Access to Innovation program and initiative by visiting www.svb.com/access. Thank you again and welcome.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending upon where you are in the world. It's such a pleasure to be back with Startup Grind, one of my very favorite groups, and especially to talk to so many amazing women out there as well. So thanks for having me. My name is Sandy Carter, as you just heard. I am the SVP for Unstoppable Domains. And I was asked to talk a little bit about how to lead in the next wave of the web. So let me just give you a little bit of background on Unstoppable Domains. We are a Web3 company. We focus in on digital identity. I'd be happy to share more about what Unstoppable is. I'm really excited because Forbes just named us as one of the best startup employers. We're number 6 on the list, which we're really excited about this year. So let me go ahead and get started on what I felt were some of the areas that I think are most important for leaders in the Web3 space. So I came up with 4. I was trying to actually get it down to 3 last night, but I decided to go ahead and go with 4. And one is community leadership. The second is acting like an open API. The third is asking a gazillion questions, and that's compliment of my daughter. I had a million questions, but she changed it to gazillion questions. And the final one is lead with purpose. So, if you think about some of the difference today in a leader in Web3, one of the things that I found is as a leader in Web2, you do listen to your customers, of course. I came from Amazon Web Services. We're known for being customer obsessed. And we gather a lot of data and we pour it into every roadmap. We love to say 90% of our roadmap was driven by our customers in some form or fashion. And I think that's really an amazing way to work. I have nothing bad to say about Amazon Web Services. But as I entered the Web3 world with 2 feet all in, one of the things that I found is that there is a big difference between listening to your customers and being a community. One of the essentials I find for Web3 is that leaders are really community managers from the CEO all the way down. Because of Discord and Telegram and everything happening on Twitter, the community is the project and the project is the community. So everything that you do today is out in the open. Customers aren't a number. They're not anonymous. Typically, they're known and they're very vocal and they want to have a voice. And so as a leader, I think that leadership has to change a little bit from the way that you led in Web 2, especially with your customers and your partners. And I show this. I am a member of the Lazy Lions community, and I love using this as an example. because I'm part of the queens of the Lazy Lions, which are the women of the Lazy Lions. And this is their roadmap. First of all, it's a freaking cool roadmap. Doesn't look anything like the ones I used in Web 2. But the thing I love about it was when they revealed it, I had already seen it. I had already impacted it. I already knew it because the roadmap wasn't created by the senior team at Lazy Lions. The roadmap was created by the members of the community, and in particular, the queens had a big impact in what went into the roadmap and how it was presented and what was going to happen in that foray. So I think that the leadership style of a Web3 leader changes in that they're really listening to all the voices of the community, but they're not just listening and then translating. It comes directly into what you're doing, what you're working on, your roadmap. Even if you're not a member of a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, your leadership style has to change. And I think for me, I was trying to think through it last night. I think the big flip is that unlike having a user, right? Like you're a user of Instagram or you're a user of the AWS cloud, today in the Web3 world, you're a member. And that mind shift that comes from that really has an impact in how you think and how you lead and how you manage a team. And so for me, that's one of the big lessons learned is that you're a community, you're a leader and a community manager. You're a leader and a community leader all at the same time because of the visibility, the transparency that exists in the Web3 world. The second thing that I see as a Web3 leader is that you're acting more like an open API. You are, so an API is an application programming interface. Typically, companies have APIs so other companies can integrate and leverage the expertise that that company has behind the API. And for me, I think that this is a really big lesson in what you're sharing and what you're doing. The mantra for Web3 is we're all going to make it. It's we're all going to make it. So information is not power here. The power comes in sharing it. And I love stories. So I thought I'd tell you one story that I think really illustrates this. So I was actually headed over to India to do a keynote. And I tweeted, hey, I'm going to India to do this keynote. So anyway, I didn't think anything of it. I took the plane ride. It was like 20 hours. It was a long plane ride. I had mascara dripping down my face when I landed. I got to the hotel and all I wanted to do was go to sleep. So I went to, and the general manager came up to me and he said, Sandy, there's a big group of people here to meet you. So I put them in a bigger room. So you should go down there and see them when you're finished checking in. So again, remember, I got mascara dripping down my face. I'm tired, 22-hour plane ride. I had told my team, don't show up because I was going to be tired. It was too late for them too. So anyway, I went down to the room. I opened the door and everybody's Bollywood dancing. So I thought it was a wedding. I quickly shut the door, went back to the general manager and I said, where's my team? And he goes, that's them. And I'll never forget it. I opened the door, went back in, and this gentleman came running up to me. His name was Anu. Sandy, welcome to India. He said, how are your daughters? Well, I have 2 daughters. So obviously he knows me. So I'm thinking, oh, is he part of my team? Maybe my extended team. And then he asked about my one-eyed dog. I have a rescue dog that only has one eye. Long story short, he was the social media club president for Mumbai. He read my tweet that I was coming. Of course, he read a lot of my tweets because he knew I had 2 daughters and a one-eyed dog. And so he said, I decided I wanted to come and meet you. And so he didn't know what hotel I was at. So he called his sister's daughter's niece's aunt and they told him what hotel I was at. And he decided to show up. But then he got a great idea. What if not I just show up? What if I invite the entire social media club of Mumbai? And so he did. So I was in the room with the Social Media Club of Mumbai. There were about 150 people there. They had a projector set up in the middle of the room and they share how I got so many Twitter followers, how I was using Twitter Spaces, what was I doing? And so I had a choice to make. I could either say, look, those are my trade secrets. I'm not going to share them or I'm too tired. But as a Web3 leader, I thought, you know what? We're all going to make it. I need to share openly. So I stayed there from 11 p.m. at night till 2 a.m. in the morning. I think that's what a Web3 leader has to do. They have to share their knowledge, regardless of when it's asked for, how it's asked for. And the really cool thing I have to tell you is I showed up the next morning at 8 a.m. for my first customer meeting, and the guy greeted me. And he said to me, "Are you that crazy woman who was up till 2 a.m. with the Social Media Club of Mumbai?" You know, his daughter's friends, somebody knew that I had gone there and had shared it. So basically, I was greeted with open arms everywhere I went in Mumbai. And on Friday, when I got up to do the keynote, which is why I had originally come, there was the Social Media Club of Mumbai, 150 of them, and they all stood up and gave me a standing ovation before I even said one word. So acting like an open API is really important. It's one of the reasons I started Unstoppable Women of Web3. When I came into the space with both feet, one of the things I recognized is there just weren't enough women in Web3. I had come from Web2, where 25%, 30% women, to Web3, 8%, 7%, single digit numbers. And when I started asking people about why, most of them said they didn't understand what Web3 was, or they thought Web3 equaled crypto and crypto equaled corruption. And so they didn't want to engage in that. And so I started Unstoppable Women of Web3 with 3 missions: to make Web3 accessible to everyone, 2, to educate women in particular, but all diverse groups, on what it is, like what it is and what it's not. Because crypto is only one use case of blockchain. It's not equal to Web3. And then finally, to help them get started. And so this is one of the things that I think is very Web3-ish, is sharing your perspective. If you are a company, we now have 91 companies that have joined. It's a company mission. We do have a website, Unstoppable Wow 3. We'd love for you guys to join us. We're going to do an announcement of our next set of companies in June. So number 2, act like an open API. Number 3, I think as a Web3 leader, I think you have to ask a lot of questions. Questions are super important. They are important in Web2 as well, but they're even more important in Web3. So a friend of mine is a professor at Stanford. She wrote a book about what makes the great innovators great innovators. And the only thing she found that was common amongst the Jeff Bezos, Steve Jobs when he was alive, Elon Musk, the only thing she found in common is that they ask a ton of questions. And so she went and did the research on others who asked questions, and she found that only second to the best innovators were children. And if you have children, you know, they ask you, why is the sky blue? Why are the clouds white? Why is the grass green? And they'll go on and on and on. Children on average ask 73 questions a day. I think my kids ask more than that. But on the average, adults only ask 10 questions a day. Their curiosity has gone away. And like I said, the best innovators of our time ask over 100. They even top children. I know because I used to work for AWS, and Jeff Bezos and Andy Jassy, who's now the CEO, asked tons of questions, seeking to understand and to prod you to think differently. Given that we are in the early days of Web3, I think this is essential for us as we shape the future to ask a lot of questions. And I'll just give you an example of how asking a lot of questions makes a difference. So this was me when I was at AWS, and I got an opportunity to work on artificial intelligence and blockchain and AR and VR, all the elements of the metaverse. And so we were asked by customers, we need more skill sets in these spaces. We need more IoT skills. We need more AI skills. So what could we do? So if you just ask 1 or 2 questions, you would come to the conclusion that to get more skill sets, you need to teach more classes. You need to get more universities. But if you keep asking questions and you keep asking questions, then you come up with really creative things. This is our Deep Racer. It's a race car. It's 1/18 the size of a real race car. It has IoT sensors on it. You drive it and race it using reinforcement learning. Very powerful concept. We did deep racing leagues all around the country. we train 10x the people that we do today in universities. We train here. And in fact, one of my favorite stories is a chef in the Philippines for the first time using blockchain, IoT, and AI won the race competition for all of Asia, had never coded before, but just wanted to learn about it. So ask a lot of questions, because you're going to get, the more you ask, the different solutions you're going to find versus just asking one or two questions. And the final hack I wanted to do is lead with purpose. Having a purpose makes you feel like you're living your best life, but it also is really important in Web3. I work with Polygon as a partner, a Web3 company that does layer 2. Part of their purpose is delivering access to Web3 through a protocol that enables them to save the climate. They have a purpose. Part of our purpose at Unstoppable Domains is to ensure that the ownership of your identity and your data belongs to you, not a company. And leading with purpose is crucial in the space. It's one of the reasons why I really love working with others in this space as well. And one of my stories here about, leading with a purpose is also knowing who you are. So I tell this story. I was working actually in a metaverse group, and I was in charge of a team. The company had asked me to be in charge of a team. And when I was in charge of that team, they asked me to do a turnaround. Well, I assessed the team was an amazing team, completely amazing. But they were all superstars in their own right. They weren't working together. So I had this great idea. Every Monday morning, I would put a quote on each person's desk. And that quote, I love quotes, by the way, that inspirational quote would be how their superpower could be used with the team to really drive the team forward, not just the individual. At the end of 3 weeks of doing that, I had done 3 quotes for each person on the team. One of the team members, who happened to be 6'5", came and banged on my door and said, "Sandy, I got to talk to you. We hate the quotes. Please stop doing them." And I was like, "Well, what do you hate about them?" He said, "They're very girly girl. We don't like girly girl. Haven't you noticed? We're all men." And so I had a decision to make. Do I continue to leave quotes because that's what I thought could bring people together, along with a couple other things, or do I stop? And of course, I decided to continue. Let's fast forward a couple of years. This guy, the 6'5" guy, was retiring from the company. He was hosting a retirement dinner, and I got an invitation. I was quite surprised. So I went to the dinner, and when I showed up, his wife was there. I was sitting at the table of honor. And she came up to me and she said, "Are you Sandy?" And I said, "Yes, I know your husband hated my quotes." And she goes, "I don't know what you're talking about. He put all of your quotes in a shoebox. And in fact, when you left and you went to another company, he would pull those quotes out of the shoebox and use those for inspiration. And in fact, his kids, as his retirement party gift, have a leather shoebox that he can pull those quotes in." The only reason I tell you that is to have purpose. You have to be who you are. My kids today are teenagers getting ready to go to college, and they always are asked, "What are you going to do? What's your career?" But I think the most important question for purpose is, who are you? What impact do you want to have on the world? And I think that's part of what Web3 leadership is having an impact on the world, doing something greater than you are today. It's also why I'm involved with groups like Girls in Tech. I am the chairman of the board there as well. So I hope that this helped you. I think diversity matters. I talked about Unstoppable Women of Web3. To me, this is my purpose as well. I love my job. I love what I do at Unstoppable Domains, but my mission with Unstoppable Women of Web3 gives me that purpose and that drive. I hope this helped you out. Again, remember, part of Web3 is it's a community. We're all going to make it. And I told you I love quotes, so I'm going to end with one. I'm a big basketball fan. I was a tutor for Coach K at Duke University. And one of my favorite quotes is this one by Stacey King. Stacey King was a rookie, and he said, "I will always remember this as the night that Michael Jordan and I combined to score 70 points. Stacey King scored 1. So just remember, any question that you have, others have it. Anytime you need help, others need it too. Always remember it's a team sport, regardless of whether you score 69 points or you score 1 point, we're all going to make it. Thank you for your time today.
Awesome. I think we can go into a time of Q&A. And so if you have questions for Sandy, definitely put it in the chat. Sandy, thank you so much for sharing your story and your journey into Web3 and how to be a leader. And I think Allison mentioned that her 4-year-old asked us 7 to 3 questions before 10 a.m. So I believe questions are great because they lead to innovation. And so we do have a question. One of the questions is, Web3 is a massive topic. What's the minimum viable education topic for someone who's new into Web3 and wants to learn?
So I think just a basic what is Web3 is a great place to get started. And I think that, I know it sounds like a lot, but there are essentially, there are 5 essentials for Web3. We do have it posted on unstoppablewow3.com. I'll post that in here. Or maybe I just did that just for the host. Let me see if I can do that for everyone now. It's a great intro. It talks about why blockchain is essential, why digital identity is essential, why community is essential in Web3. So it's very high level, and it then can route you on what you're most interested in. The creator part of Web3 or the technical part of Web3 or kind of a generous view of Web3. For me, that's where I would get started, just as a general outline to guide you onto your next topics.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. I believe that link is now in the chat. We also had another question. How do we truly address the bias in design, code, research, and governance?
Great question. So, yeah, this is a great question, Grace, because this is one of the reasons why I am so passionate about getting more diversity. And diversity for us, if you go look at our website, it's women, so it's gender, it's race, it's military veteran. I mean, it's ethnic diversity, it's everything that's diverse, because today Web3 is not diverse at all. And we are very early on. So I like to say we're in the modem phase. I don't even know if you guys know what a modem is. We're in the dial-up phase. If you guys know that, we're way early. And so now's the time to jump in. I do not want the next generation of the internet to be designed, sorry guys on the phone, by white men. I think it needs to be designed by every voice, every color, every orientation. It has to have all that input. And the results come back time after time that more innovation occurs when you have more diversity. So it's very obvious. We're early on. Now we need all diversity. So what do you do to address it? Jump into Web3 now. People are really listening right now. There's Discord, there's Telegram. There's so many ways to impact and influence the future. And women have to be a part of that, So if you want more details, Cindy, please reach out to me, because I would love to get you involved in many, many things as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I believe diversity matters, especially since we're so early, so that we're building for everyone and not just a subset of people. We have another question. And this question is, what's your best advice for lifelong learning resources for people who want to upskill?
Yeah, so I'm very curious, and I'm constantly learning. In fact, people have said to me, wow, you always seem to get the coolest jobs. And that didn't happen by luck. That happened because I was constantly looking ahead at what's AI and what is Web3 and what is blockchain, and trying to play with it and learn it. So for me, I do a couple of things. I have different blogs, podcasts, newsletters that I subscribe to so that I can see what's coming in. I subscribe to a couple of futurists that are out there as well, so I can see what they're thinking. Some of the stuff is really bizarre, but some of it really comes through. And then I also am constantly scanning, what are the top classes on LinkedIn Learning and on Coursera, to also give me a feel. And the last thing that I always look at is, where are the developers going? So if you look at Web 2 to Web 3, the increase in Web 3 developers this past quarter was 61%. 61% increase in the number of developers in Web3. So anyway, that's some of the things that I look at for lifelong learning.
That's awesome. Well, we have a few more questions, but we are running out of time. So please make sure you connect with Sandy. I know you're very active on Twitter. I believe your Twitter handle is at Sandy_Carter. So please follow us, Sandy. Like you said, we're all going to make it. This is a great time to jump into Web3. I'm a Web3 advocate, and I'm so excited to see more women and diverse group building into space. So thank you so much, Sandy.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Bruce. Really appreciate it. And a big call out to Startup Grind. I love you guys. So thanks so much.